time with ministers in the social services cluster. Yesterday, we touched on a question from ACDB President, the Reverend Meshoe. He asked the Minister of Basic Education if any officials had been charged or dismissed for destroying textbooks in Limpopo, the Eastern Cape and Northwest. He also wanted to know what type of action had been taken against officials. In yesterday's program, we heard the Deputy Minister of Basic Education explaining that there had been an arrest with regard to the dumping of textbooks.
He was arrested on 2 counts of dumping in the Limpopo province and subsequently re-arrested and recharged on a 3rd count. The dumping was in relation to workbooks. Now, just to explain to the House, there's 52 million workbooks that are distributed countrywide in all 11 official languages. These workbooks basically go to each and every school, but in order to prevent difficulties and challenges in relation to shortages or the delivery of long workbooks, the Department of Basic Education provides for some 20,000 workbooks to be stored in each district warehouse to enable easy access where there are shortages or where wrong languages have been supplied. The official concern from the information at our disposal utilizes as an opportunity to acquire, firstly, the use of a vehicle, and secondly, to be remunerated for purposes of taking books to a school which he did not deliver to.
With regard to the destruction of textbooks, the Deputy Minister said it appeared this was committed by an agent contracted by the Limpopo government. He said a government did not condone any form of destruction of the textbook or workbooks.
The information at our disposal is that she illegitimately acquired an authority to procure these textbooks. The procedure that is followed in the department in Limpopo, Department of Education in Limpopo, is that district officials and provincial officials are responsible for the assessment of any textbooks which they wish to dispose of. Where a textbook is obsolete in terms of the curriculum, the procedure is that it would be redirected to a library or a resource center. It appears that in this particular instance, the authority was illegitimately provided. The contract has been cancelled, and the Special Investigating Unit, the Anti-Corruption Unit, and the NPA have been requested to investigate the matter on an urgent basis. With regard to the last issue, and that is the issue of the most recent arrest of textbooks, this, from the information at our disposal, these are not textbooks that belong to the Department of Education or any particular school or entity of government, but to a publisher. And the person who has been arrested is an agent of the publisher who has indeed disposed of these textbooks. Investigations are carrying out, and he has indeed been arrested and appeared in court.
Thank you very much. Your time is up.
In his supplementary question, the Reverend Meshoe wanted to know why government had not listened to good legal advice when a provider of textbooks had been appointed.
Fingers have been pointed at Edu Solutions. And according to reports, on January 17th, Pat Ellis, who's a senior legal advocate, decided to discourage government from being in partnership with Edu Solutions. And he advised that because the company got the contract, which is invalid, that alternative suppliers should be sought. And there are many that believe that had that advice been taken, then we would not be having the mess in the department that we are having today. So now my question is, if indeed this advice was given to the department, why the department choose to ignore such a legal advice? And will the department or government consider recovering the millions that were lost from people who took part in the destruction of the books? Because many of them, we are told, came out of overpayments. Thank you.
Firstly, already in 2011, a service level agreement was concluded between the Department of Education in Limpopo and the service provider, Edu Solutions. It is indeed correct that we receive information from Treasury, who was responsible for the overall administration, that there are elements that are non-compliant in terms of this particular exercise, and we should basically seek to cancel the agreement. The Department of Basic Education thereupon did indeed cancel the agreement. Now, this is a very interesting situation, because if we had not done so, then the question that Honorable Meshoe is asking would be that, notwithstanding the fact that you had information or you were requested to cancel an agreement, you elected to proceed. What the department then did is it did, on the basis of strong legal opinion, cancel the agreement. Edu Solutions then launched an application to court seeking to enforce the agreement. The matter was opposed and the application was dismissed with cost. So indeed, the service providers that supplied the books after the interventions were not Edu Solutions, were the publishers. What we can convey to this House is that the cost at which we procured the textbooks was about 1/3 of the cost that was projected originally. So indeed, there was a huge cost-saving exercise. There was a delay, yes, but on the other hand, certainly we contributed very directly to more efficient pricing of these commodities. We can also assure the House that in terms of next year, there's already been negotiations with the publishers, and certainly the rate at which we are going to be procuring in Limpopo.
Donald Smiles of the DA said heads should roll at the highest level for letting down the Minister of Basic Education.
The textbooks crisis has exposed the lack of performance and accountability within senior management ranks in the Department of Basic Education. There were many requests for the Minister to resign, but it is clear that the Minister had been let down by some officials. Will the Minister consider to replace the captain of the team? Will you ask the HOD and some of the HODs in the provinces to resign?
The President had indeed appointed a task team to look into the matters of the Limpopo debacle. It had elaborate terms of reference, and a report has been submitted to the President. The President would then make the appropriate decisions based on the findings and recommendations of the report.
Task team does not mean there is a proper administration. Still, there is no administration, and therefore the question is, are they prepared to replace the present administration that is there, levels of the head of department, etc. But again, the minister herself and the deputy minister, they have not done well for very many years. Are they prepared to step down? And if they are not, is the presidency in the country prepared to ensure that that is dealt with? Because if the presidency is not prepared to do that, then the people of our country have got to be responded to when they raise this particular question.
I suggest that the Honourable Madisha refers the matter to the Honourable President, who is responsible for my appointment, and that of the Minister of Basic Education. Thank you.
What I was going to ask Deputy Minister, but you have clarified, as to say now in Limpopo, can we see the systems in place so that in future we don't see or we don't encounter the textbook destruction that we have seen in Limpopo? But further to that, Deputy Minister, if you can talk more again on the policies like the shredding of books, of which it was a worrying factor to all of us, as to say, can we still continue with that policy, and how best can we make sure that it is being utilized so that we avoid to see the things that has happened in Limpopo in connection with the shredding of books? Thank you.
With regard to the first part of your question, indeed, the Department of Basic Education and Treasury are working very, very closely in relation to the procurement for textbooks next year. Resources have been identified and set aside for that particular purpose, and the necessary business process with regard to the procurement and the acquisition and the ordering of textbooks are on track. With regard to the destruction of textbooks, to destroy a textbook or any book itself amounts almost to, of the state, amounts to malicious damage to property. It's indeed criminal. If at all books are so badly in such bad shape and certainly cannot be used, then you should have a proper system in terms whereof an assessment and evaluation should take place. My view, firstly, is that, and in fact this has been the recommendation, that all principals in each and every school, not only in Limpopo but countrywide, must be notified that under no circumstances are they permitted to destroy or hand over books for destructions. Secondly, that the provincial departments of education must take central control for the monitoring and assessment of books that they wish to dispose of. Thirdly, wherever possible, libraries and resource centers must become the beneficiaries of textbooks that are not aligned to the curriculum. And lastly, unless a book is totally unusable, then the book should be destroyed. These are policy initiatives that should be taken into account, and we are going to have a comprehensive discussion of this matter at the next Council of Education Ministers meeting to refine this particular position so that it is uniform countrywide.
We stay with question time in the National Assembly after the break. When you look at the question to the Deputy President, and that question deals with government's efforts to end violent protest actions.